Hi and welcome to IT Chronicles 10 in Tech. We're coming to you from Knowledge 18 in Las Vegas today. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with my co-host Carlos Casanova.
Hey Kirsty.
Hiya Carlos. And we have the pleasure of speaking with Andrew Burrage from Service Flow this morning.
Pleased to meet you both. Hi.
Welcome, Andrew. So Andrew, you guys play between a lot of organizations and client stuff, but from what I understand, you're really starting to play a little bit more in the managed service provider space and assisting them with a lot of their solutions. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how how Service Flow is really working in that space and how you've been growing in that space?
So we have a number of relationships with some of the key managed service providers. Mm-hmm. In fact, may I mention a few names? Is that
sure.
Okay? Fujitsu is probably the number one. Accenture, Capgemini, and some of the other telcos as well, global telcos. So it's a really important part of our sort of sales initiative and the way that we're pushing our solution. And we spend probably about the same amount of time on the customer side as well as we do with partners.
And so you spend quite a bit of time talking with those C-level executives about what they're wanting to get.
Yes.
So
yes.
What are you seeing as their biggest challenges right now?
In terms of the biggest challenge, I would say, our business model is predicated on a hub integration solution. So in terms of where a lot of these managed service providers feel they've got it covered is in building point-to-point solutions. Right. But where you're coming into a kind of a multi-vendor, moving tickets around a number of different kind of managed service providers and systems integrators, that is very much the sweet spot for our solution. And using our hub integration solution, where we've got a number of these service providers already connected, to be able to facilitate moving those kind of tickets around is exactly what they're looking for. Right. And the complexity of building those kind of solutions, provides them with a real challenge. So we come along and we say, here's an alternative, here's a different way, here's a choice.
It's not as easy from just saying, well, I want this to be there. It's all that translation piece in the middle that...
That's right, exactly. So, in-house they have a lot of capability, particularly the managed service providers, to do the point-to-point kind of integrations, but less capability for the more complex kind of ecosystem approach. And that's where, it's an industry kind of dynamic. It's a demand that we fulfill.
Yes.
Right. So I would assume that once you start working with these service providers, it enables them to really go after other markets or work with existing clients to really expand their reach and enable them to, enable their clients to actually really accomplish even more.
Spot on, absolutely spot on. So, it adds to their portfolio. Having a multi-vendor SIAM offering, particularly around integrations, really adds to their own capabilities and how they can then obviously work more closely with their customers, again, to meet their own kind of integration issues. Right. So it's a win-win all round. Right. Yeah. Definitely.
So you mentioned SIAM. I mean, a lot of us are fairly familiar with that, but for a senior executive that's watching this and hears SIAM, it's like, oh, I'm not really familiar with that. What is that from their perspective, from that C-level perspective? Not the technical nuts and bolts. What does that mean to them? What is that? What's the value that they get from a SIAM solution?
Well, it's very interesting actually listening to Andrew Wilson this morning from Accenture at the keynote, because he hit a number of those different kind of SIAM related topics. It's not just about looking at SIAM on its own, it's looking at a number of the other platforms that a major kind of global company will have to take care of, and particularly from a CIO perspective. So from a SIAM point of view, there are a number of building blocks there already which companies use, but again it comes down to how well you're integrating your own solutions and platforms in your own company with those that you depend upon in the service provider environment, and how you then move data and ticketing around. And that is becoming a more complex kind of ecosystem issue. that you get to hear when those are the kind of conversations I get to hear.
Yes. Yep.
And you know, from a customer point of view and a senior customer point of view, they're talking a lot about, okay, we need to improve the way that we integrate the you know, the different platforms from the different service providers offering the different portfolio.
So do you have,
That makes sense.
yeah, when you're working with the service providers, I would think that some of these, you know, other tiers, I don't want to say third tier, but other tiered technologies and stuff, are you able to work with them to get more clean, for lack of a better term, you know? So because the integration obviously is a lot more work if they're not fully compliant with that. And again, I'm trying not to use words that have baggage.
Trying not to get too technical
Yes.
here.
Yeah, but I'm also I don't want it to be so that, you know, compliance implies something, especially if you come from a security and an audit background, and we know that these are just frameworks to work with. So are you able to sort of push that space, that intelligence of these organizations to be more in alignment with that, so that way these integrations, whether it's yours or the service provider using your tools, to move quicker, to deploy quicker, and get their solutions even
Again,
faster?
another really, well,
I'm
yes,
so
short
good.
answer. The great thing
You're on
is,
fire today, Carlos.
there's a short answer to your very long question, which is yes. We really accelerate the kind of implementation times for what we do in this complex area of integrations, which can be anything. If you're doing it yourself, 6 to 12 months. We compress that time scale right down to between 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks.
Right.
So we really accelerate it.
So they're getting that business value a lot quicker
Right.
by using service flow as that translation piece.
They
in the middle.
really are. And
Well, how about the maintenance side of that? I would think, you know, because when you build custom integration, obviously it's not building it, which takes, you know, a ton of time and money. It's 3 months later that company
because that's
changed this
changed.
and that company changed that. You're in a constant maintenance mode as well, that I would assume that you don't have to deal with as much.
So
I mean,
we
you deal with
take
it, but
we
they don't.
take care of the maintenance, but what you're also alluding to is the business value.
Yeah.
And the business value is if you are again a large corporate, or not, you know, even a sort of mid-sized corporate, and you're chopping and changing your service providers at the end of contractual periods, you know, being able to remove one of those service providers from our hub and then bring in another one is very simple and very easy. We take the pain away, we take the headache away, and you don't need to worry about that. So
one of those things about changing providers, you're making a lot easier.
Exactly.
'cause it's
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
So I would think that'd be tricky too, right? Because you're working with these same providers,
Yes.
but you're also making it easy for their clients to potentially change providers. So I would envision that puts you in a delicate position at times. You're enable them, because let's be honest, I mean, a lot of the bigger service providers want that ingrained, you can't move.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can imagine that's going to be a really tricky situation to be in at times.
Well, it is tricky in the sense that we're not actually part of the decision-making process for contracts to either be terminated or extended or swapped in and out. We're not part of that. But what we do, I guess, is from the customer's point of view, is take away any of the pain associated with, removing.
So you're removing one of those barriers.
We do, and you're right to an extent. It is a little bit tricky, but that's not really our issue to worry about. That's between the service providers and the companies. But what we do is we make it easy. And if you decide to use a different kind of service desk environment, again, we make that easy for you. You can change from one platform to another.
Right.
And we can parallel run platforms for you.
Yes.
Okay, so tickets can still move around.
Yeah.
If it's if it's A and B and tickets you're swapping from A to B, then we can still move tickets around for you, and we can also facilitate between A and B as well.
Yeah, because that wind up, wind down
that
period can be very painful for companies.
That's right.
It's a very delicate time of the transformation process.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So, the points you're making here are absolutely really good ones.
Yeah, we've been in this space a little bit. We've seen
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah,
Yeah, we've been involved in the pay a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Thank
Great
you.
speaking with you.
Yeah,
and
nice to meet you,
wish
Andrew.
you the best of luck
Yeah.
moving forward.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.